right, well, this is Aaron Squire coming to you guys again this week. We've got episode 66, Mordor's 66 Devils. Tonight on Deck Built with the Squire, we welcome back Armies of Mordor. We had to shore up his numbers with my typical guest, with Golden Saucer Guy, so had to invite him back on. Tonight we're going to be talking about some of the news in Hex that's going on. We got a 5 shards tournament that's coming up. We're going to do some sort of a demon themed deck, I think, because it's the 66th episode, something like that. So yeah, but Armies of Mordor, you've betrayed me for another, haven't you? Talk to me about that. Let's start off with that. Let's segue. That seems like a good segue.
All right. Well, I didn't really want to mention it too much, at least not at the beginning, but me and Havoc and Nero and Future and Mantic is going to be on at some point, but he wasn't able to make it for this episode of Synergy. It's a show that's just talking about how cards interact with each other to make a better, combo or synergy, basically, with the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be up on YouTube. You can watch it after
the show. Yeah, so you can get it in syndication on YouTube then. Okay, so you guys, so I guess you could post it in the channel, or I'll post it on a link on this video later if you are watching this on YouTube much later. But yeah, make sure to check that out, support that. That's a new piece of content for you guys. If you got some more ideas, that's great. Also, I'm always looking for more people to come on the show, more guests and more decks to take a look at, and more ideas, give you my spin on things. Speaking of spin on things, last week I caught a little bit of flack for my judgment of my card, and I guess taking a look at it, when someone puts your face on a card, you might get a little bit of pride, and honestly, yeah, the card is ridiculously hard to play around. And I did say auto pick up and draft. I'm gonna go ahead and backtrack from that and say, yeah, if you probably saw a bomb or removal, you'll probably pick that up over All in the Family, just because it is so hard. For some reason in my mind I thought, what, in draft I could get to 5 troops that are different costs a little bit more easily and have them actually stick around, on some sort of board stalemate. But it's just one of those cards that's like Armies of Mordor and I were talking about before the show, will probably be more of a bulk rare, but that's fine. Still a great looking card. Armies of Mordor, you have anything to chime in on that one?
Yeah, it's one of those cards that I could see in the future when we have more sets and more ways to generate multiple tokens, that'll be much better, especially in different formats. Like, assuming, I don't know, maybe the 2v2 format, maybe it'll count,
or a singleton format,
allies troops,
some sort of Highlander singleton format or something.
Yeah,
maybe
anything like that. Other formats you could easily see, like, depending on how the field works in, like, PvE, for example, like in raids, if
that's
it
true,
counts each of the 3 of you's different troops on the board, it might make it a lot better. But yeah, I'd say it's
for PvP. For PvP, probably in the near future, unless something comes out and it's like, play this and get 5 different troops that happen to be 5 different costs, or even 3 different costs for something, then yeah, probably not gonna be a thing. So let's talk about some of the news. You ready to, did you have anything else you wanted to hit on before we moved on to the news, Armies, or?
I'm good.
You're good? All right. So let's go over to the other screen, and nice little transition there. And there you are. Haha. So we have the flavor text contest winner announced, and actually, I like the flavor text that's on the card that they went with. It says, "Boss, don't the coyotes see the future?" You're right. Double the payload. I mean, that's pretty good. But actually, some of these other ones, I really like too. I think my favorite one down here is, "Hey, hold my beer. I want to try something." I think that's my favorite one. But I don't know, Armies, did you take a look through these? Did you?
Yeah, I took a look. I even entered the contest. That was.
Do you know what yours was? What was yours?
At the top of my head, I couldn't say it word for word, but
right.
It was something along the lines of Dwarven Smiths are unlike the other races smiths, as they, instead of making weapons that you just give to a single guy that can kill a single guy, they make things that can just blow up an entire army.
So
mine was more lore based. It wasn't cute or funny or anything
right,
like that.
right. So it was more like, yeah, kind of like this bottom one, like, yeah, Clarence gained the nickname Boomsmith after the first dwarven chilly night. He decided he liked the name after the first dwarven blow up everyone who laughed at me on chilly night. I mean, a little bit more eloquent than what you said, but kind of more historical or something. Yeah. And that can be good flavor text too. Moving on to the. Go ahead.
Like I was saying, I definitely didn't say it word for word. I made it sound a lot better.
More eloquent.
More eloquent, and with the amount of text that was required for the contest. So I was hoping to at least get an honorable mention, but didn't happen.
Yeah. On to the Hex update. It's Hex's birthday. I'm not sure exactly the date of Hex's birthday, but apparently it was close to this time period. I'm not sure if it's exactly on the 5th, but it's the second year. You're going to look it up now, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
As far as the Kickstarter, I have a video of the Kickstarter when they were counting it down. I do have a video somewhere on my YouTube on that, but it's got a new card back here where it's like Corey and he's like chopping up this confetti monster or something. You know, Princess Corey. I guess that's going to be a card back that everybody's going to get. So if you haven't tried out the game yet, then make sure to go over and log in, because as long as you log in before that time, you get this free cool card back for your game. For your game client.
June 7th.
June 7th. So there you go. Down here, the comic was pretty entertaining too. This is kind of like, I guess, how they came up with this card back. I looked through it. I'm not going to open it up here. I want you to be surprised. So go over to hextcg.com under the Terrible 2's June 5th, 2015 update, and you'll find the webcomic there. But it's pretty entertaining. Not any words on it, if I remember right. Yeah, it's all just panels. It's all just pictures. And yeah, and then they talked about some new starter decks down here and some specific things with along with all the different races. We've got the Coyote race, the Necrotic, the Venom, and then the Elves. And so we get to see this elf deck and a whole bunch of cards on here to take a look at.
Coyote deck.
I mean, maybe a couple new ones. Let's see. Are there any new ones that I haven't seen yet? So far, not so much. Maybe Earthcaller. I'm not sure if I've seen Earthcaller yet.
There are a few of those cards that are new.
Storm Drummer. Centers play. The next troop in your deck gets, when this enters play, you may have it battle target opposing troop.
Yeah, that was.
That could be pretty good. Sure, I could see that. And like
the first time I saw it, I immediately thought, well, Zentos Inquisitor can now fight things again.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty mean. That would be pretty sick. Let's see, we got Spiritualist. Target troop in your graveyard in your deck. If you do, troop gets +2/+2 and cost -2. That's pretty interesting, I guess. Yeah, that could be a pretty good, pretty amazing dwarf one. I mean, limited card. Let's see.
It's got on-curve stat, like better than on-curve stats, and irrelevant ability. The longer the game goes, the more you trade troops, but the bigger the troops in your deck will be.
Yeah, I like this card actually a lot. This would be a great one to run in some sort of wild deck with like a 4-point top end curve, maybe a 5-point. Like I guess you go 5, so you can play like 2 like Filk Gapes maybe. Actually, you wouldn't play Filk Gape with this though. I'm not sure what you'd play in that. You maybe play like 2 Jadim or something. You know, some sort of mono wild deck. You could play Constantina and like a bunch of like cheap, efficient wild troops. Could be pretty good. This
also
total
probably good with Royal Falconer or Darkspires.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Falconeer would be pretty awesome. Actually, what's kind of neat about this guy that I just thought about is like if you get something Inquisitor and then it eventually dies, it's in your graveyard. This could actually make it come back, put it back into your deck, and then you could like kind of like heal it, you know, so it actually does stuff again. Maybe. Well, no, actually, it would still be -1 power, so not really healing it enough.
Depends how big it was when they shrunk it.
Yeah, that's true. Replica of a troop you control. Each troop you control shares a trait with it, and put it in your troops in your hand. This seems like this could be something. This replica reinforcements.
Yeah, Corey spoiled that on Twitter like last week or the week before or something. I thought it was really interesting, especially with the Ritualist of the Spring Glitter card, because every Shin'Hare you create, you would get 2 copies of. So you would get 2 more of that card, so then you'll have 3 in play, and then all of your Shin'Hare cards will create, 4 Battle Hoppers or 4 random Shin'Hare or whatever. So.
Or you put the Shin'Hare that he gets +1/+1 whenever a Shin'Hare enters your hand, and then that buffs him as well.
Yeah, that was definitely a possibility for that deck as well. It's like, +8/+8 to my 1/1.
Yeah, that seems pretty good. Target gets -1 power. Put this into its controller's hand. So you could just keep doing this over and over again, debuffing.
It's an action.
Put this into your. Put it into its controller's hand.
Like
oh, okay. It's Time Ripple. It's better than Time Ripple.
It's it's better in the sense that if it's a 1-power creature, it won't be able to attack.
Right.
Or if it's a big creature, you can make it somewhat smaller, but it doesn't increase the cost of the card.
I guess it doesn't do what Time Ripple does, because Time Ripple can target any permanent on the board,
yeah, this is specifically for troops.
Yeah.
Which is still mostly reasonable. I mean, it's still good against, like, Angel of Dawn and things like that.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Predatory Prey. It's a 5 cost, 2 wild. Target basic action. Target troop you control gets +2/+2 this turn. That troop battles another opposing troop. That seems pretty relevant, especially for wild. This is an amazing card. I like it, actually.
It was 4 cost instead of 5, but yeah, it's still removal. It's
in fun. Wild, it's okay because like everything can be a little bit more expensive because you're ramping anyway. So, it's. I think you're okay with it. Because typically, even if you have nothing to kill with it, +2/+2 is still relevant. So I think that's the best part about it. That's going to be like a really good pickup for your draft players that are playing in Wild now.
The real question is if it'll let you use it without a target, because it doesn't say it may battle target opposing troop. So if they don't have an opposing troop to target, will you be able to cast it as just +2?
It's a secondary condition. So, like, typically once they put a period on a sentence, you don't need to fulfill the second condition, because as far as like typical card games that I know, like, so like if they had put this first, like target troop battles opposing troop and it gets +2/+2 second, then I would say it. But as far as what I know, typically target troop you control gets +2/+2 this turn, and then that target troop battles target opposing troop. It's not really a conditional. Like, if it's not there, it's not there. It doesn't have to necessarily fulfill that. I don't know. Maybe it does, because, like, it might look for it, so.
I don't know either way, but I'm just putting it out there that it may work one way or the other, and we don't know yet, but.
Yeah. Yeah, because that could be bad, because, like, most of the time then you'd be killing your own troop if it doesn't work that way. Oh, it says opposing troop. You don't even get a choice. So.
Yeah, well, no, what I mean is if your opponent doesn't have a troop, would you be able to pump your guy?
Right, you probably, yeah, it looks like you may not be able to. So, this last guy, here's one of the new champions. We've got a ton of champions to talk about tonight. So, first one, we'll just look at the one on this elf, or I guess this is a Coyote deck, rather, not elf deck, but you need wild and 3 charges. It says Prophecy. The next troop in your deck gets +1/+1. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see this guy being as useful as the current Shin'Hare guy that gives all your troops +1/+1.
Well, the thing you have to be aware of is that all of these champions are for set 3 limited. You can't use any of those first 2 sets of champions for limited. So.
Oh, okay.
You can use all of them for constructed, but this card and Fuzzuko are not 2 options for the same.
So they're
archetypes.
Wow, I didn't know that. So that's kind of different than last time we went to set 2. You know.
That's because set 2 was still part of the first block. This is a new block.
Oh, okay. All right, that's how they're doing it. They're doing blocks of 2 sets. Okay, well that's good. Well, see, I'm being educated. It's a good thing you came on the show. So yeah, so here's all of our new champions. Tons of new champions. We've already seen this guy. We talked about him like two episodes ago, I'd say. Benvolio. Yeah, I think it's pretty. I think it's really good because you're drawing cards, so it's pretty amazing. And yeah, this guy's probably going to be really good. Do you have anything to add to that? Really, I mean,
he's the best Ruby champion out of what was spoiled, in my opinion.
He probably is. Let's see. We've got Boros Blastforge. It's basic 2 Sapphire and 2 charges. Target troop gets flight this turn. Like we've already seen a champion that gives flight, but it cost us 4 before. So do you think that makes this much better? Like that now it's double. It's 2 threshold instead of the single threshold. I mean, I think it's a lot better, but you know, I don't know. Especially in limited, I guess.
This is half as many charges, but you only give flight for 1 turn. The other one.
Oh, this turn.
So they're comparable.
Yeah, but not really.
If you think your troop isn't going to live longer than 1 turn, then it's probably about as good as Feather Drifting, but half as resource intensive. It really depends on if we have big enough troops that, you know,
it seems like
1 big troop flight.
Yeah,
you know,
or you really need to get the damage in to get an effect or something, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of ground troops.
The main reason I don't like it quite as much as the Feather Drifting power, which again we shouldn't really be comparing them too much for limited, because I wouldn't think that this would see constructed play, is that this won't let you get a flying blocker, whereas the other one would. So
is that true?
This is strictly offensive because
what happened? Oh, it's just clicking. Hold on, I gotta get back to him now. Let's see. We were just there. I have to. Apparently, when you click, it just swaps them. So,
yeah,
holy cow, we got a lot. Yeah, it just goes in a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's basic. It says this turn, so it would go on your opponent's turn if you needed a blocker on your opponent's turn. Okay, but it's still basic action speed, so you can't use this as a trick. Not that they wouldn't know. You know, it would be interesting if champions will ever not be basic action speed, you know?
I would say that they're, at least for the first 2 blocks, they're probably just going to leave them all at basic, but they might make slightly more expensive powers that are quick speed in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say this power is strictly if you're trying to be offensive, like if you have like rage troops that can't get through on the ground or something, and you could get them flight, you could get them bigger that way. Like there was that necrotic that has, you know, it's a 2/1 that can't be blocked by things less power than it. If you shift that onto a really big troop, you could get it to swing past their only flight troop or something like that. Yeah. But it's really you need to be on the offense. Like you have to be an aggro flight deck because you can't use it to get a defensive flight blocker. So you really need to be the one just hitting them in the air and killing them as fast as you can.
Right. Next one, Bryson Maplewood, is Diamond and Ruby, and it costs 4 charges. If you control more troops than each opposing champion, target troop you control gets +1/+1 and Swift Strike. So it has a prerequisite. I mean, it seems really good, but until it said you had to have more troops than your opponent. I mean, I don't know. Plus, you have to have the 2 different thresholds. It seems like this guy may not happen when you really need him to a lot of the time. I mean, what do you think?
I think it's far better for constructed than it is for limited. But
oh yeah,
we haven't seen all of the cards yet. But like this card seems to synergize great with like Royal Falconer or any other deck that makes a bunch of pets, because it's a lot easier to get more troops than your opponent.
Right.
But in limited, unless we see a lot more token generation in Diamond and Ruby, this power may never be good, never be relevant at all, and that means you just don't have a champion, and then it's terrible. So
yeah.
Next one. If there's a lot of low-cost troops in Ruby and Diamond, which so far there's been a few, then maybe it's good enough, but you definitely need to have a lot of low-cost troops or token generation.
Next one is Carrick the Scavenger. It's 2 blood. It costs 4. It says transform target troop in your graveyard into a zombie, which I believe is just a 2 true ground troop. Put that troop into your hands, which I think they cost 3. I want to say they're 1 blood threshold and 3, or maybe they're double threshold. So you get 2/2 zombies by turning troops in your graveyard. Very thematic. I like that. Seems like it might be okay for limited, but I don't really see it getting too much constructed play. Comments?
It could see constructed play if reversion sub-theme is good enough for constructed, because
Oh yeah, because then you could revert it with Filcape or something and turn it back into the troop that it was in the graveyard. Yeah, okay, yep. I could see that.
It's like a mini Isidore or whatever.
Recursion zombie. Oh, look, now it's this again. Oh my gosh.
Zombie is a 2/2 for 2.
I still want to play Filcape more, but it's just ugh.
It's so expensive.
It's 5. 5 is just like for what it is. It's a lot of times you've been beaten by the time you got to 5. Next one, Concubunny Yuka. 2 blood and 5 charges. Target champion discards a card. This is going to see play, especially in constructed. I think it's going to see play. Seems pretty awesome.
I think it has a much better chance of seeing play in constructed, but the meta has to be slow enough that your opponent actually has cards in their hand for it to be relevant.
True.
So if your opponent is playing, I've played my entire hand on turn 3. They might never hold a card for you to discard again.
That's true. But still, seems really good for anyone that if you're sitting on Extinction and your opponent's holding stuff, now you can discard stuff. So I mean, that's a typical blood theme already. Synergizes really well with things that are already in blood.
Yeah, well, the other reason that I don't know if it will be good enough is there's already Mind Rake, which is a way you could just discard their whole hand at 5 anyway, and you might not need this champion power at all.
So I'm going to tell you this right now. This is probably one of my favorite ones, just looking at it, because it has ramp on it. So basically, Cressida.
I don't know the preferred pronunciation, but I want to say it's Cressida.
Maybe Cressida. But anyways, it's Ruby and Wild, 3 charges. Gain basically 1 temporary resource, right? That's temporary because the backside is. So you get a temporary resource for the turn, but it could put you in a really good position considering that Wild really wants ramp and Ruby seems to be what they want you to play as your secondary shard, when you're playing those ramp type of decks. Anyways, they're really trying to press into that and see how successful people can be with it, I think.
Well, I mean, that is the elf race too, is their Ruby Wild. So.
Right. So I think it's great.
I love this card. It lets you play turn 1 Howling Brave into turn 2 Chlorophilia into turn 3 use your champion power, and you can play
the Filcape or Filcape.
Well, I was gonna go with Army of the Arcane Cinder or something that probably
still can't play Fist of Brigadon anymore. He's just sadly sitting in a corner these days. That's kind of sad.
That's okay. He's still the indestructible avatar.
That's true. Moving on to the next one, Dreaming Fox. 1 Sapphire Threshold, 7 charges. Seems pretty high for, usually when we see a lot of charges, it becomes a lot less playable. Create an Oracle Song and put it into your hand. Okay, I might try this in limited, but I don't know that I would think it's going to make it for your constructed player. I guess it does technically. It basically draws you 2 cards as long as your opponent doesn't counter the Oracle Song or discard it from your hand because you ran out of resources for some reason. But if you have 7 charges, you'll probably play the Oracle Song in the same turn. So I guess it's good maybe for some sort of a control deck, maybe. But I would still rather play what is his name? The one that's 5 charges, draw a card, or the new one that's now Ruby that draws me cards where I have to discard them. What do you think about it?
I think it's fine. I think that the format is probably going to be slow enough that you can play this in limited, but don't quote me on that because we haven't seen the rest of the cards in the set yet. But it seems like this format is slowing down a bit more than what we're used to, because we don't have like Guiles buffing a giant swarm of humans or orcs or anything like that. So getting to 7 might not be impossible. That being said, we haven't seen any extra ways to gain charges either. So
yeah, all our charge generation was in set 2.
Yep.
Moving on, we've got Knight's Bane Ovo, I guess. It's Diamond, although he looks like he is some sort of a blood champion, but he's Diamond, and 3 charges. Revert target troop you control. I don't like this guy. I mean, I guess maybe there's some use for him out there that someone could find, but I don't really see him getting played in either Limited or in Constructed, but it's an interesting one. You think so?
There is this mechanic called Shift.
Right.
And it's a one-shot. So you can revert your card that you shifted to another card to get its shift back. So you basically can shift to multiple, or the same card multiple times. You regain the ability from Shift. Also, in Constructed, like that's what I mean for Limited. I mean, I'm sure there will be at least 1 or 2 shifts that are good enough for Constructed. For Limited, I definitely see this as the necrotic champion. If you get a lot of shift cards, great.
Okay.
For Constructed, it'll be fine with anything that like transforms, like Jovial Pipit, turning any random card into your hand into something cheaper. You could then revert with this without having to play like Trick of Light or Fill Cape. So you could ramp out some crazy card with that, or if the meta shifts to playing Inflict Doubt and Inner Conflict and Mesmerize or any of these other, removal that isn't taking it off the board, could definitely see play.
All right. Well, it's a good thing you're here to correct me. Yeah, I can definitely see play for it now that you brought up the whole shift mechanic. So
yeah, I'd say
I stand corrected on that one.
Shift in one shot. Those are the mechanics that you will be wanting to play with this card, like Splinter of Azathoth. Those kind of abilities would be good with that card.
Next one, Madame Inanna. It's like banana. I would just call her Banana. Anyways, she's blood and diamond, 3 charges. Target troop you control gets, when this dies, create a phantom and put it into play. I'm not sure what a phantom looks like or what it is.
1/1 spirit flight for 1 in diamond.
That seems fine, I guess, for maybe Limited. Might be. I don't know that it would see a lot of play in Constructed, but it seems fine for Limited. I mean, getting
There's
that
only one deck that I think it would be good in Constructed with so far, and that's like a minion of Yakuzan Sack Outlet deck.
Right. Okay. Something where you need more bodies. Sure.
Well, every time the minion dies, you get a 1/1 spirit, so it basically replaces itself. So you play like Hideous Conversion or Born to Die, and then every time you sack the bunny, you get a 1/1 spirit.
Next one we've got is Might Singer Alindria. I think it's Alindria. Says basic 2 wild and 5 charges. Create a Gigantosaur and put it in your hand. Gigantosaur, I believe, is a 7/7 for 7 and 2 wild. Right?
That would be correct.
So another one that probably isn't going to see a lot of play, I would say. Maybe good in Limited. Limited
has a better chance than the Oracle Song Champion for Limited. Just
that's true. Yeah.
It has the ramp.
Yeah. Let's go with the next one. Patriarch of Ozin. 2 charges. He's 1 blood threshold. Target troop gets, when this deals damage to a champion, bury the top card of that champion's deck. So here is our mill champion, I guess. They put it in blood instead of sapphire this time. I'm just not a big fan of mill. I mean, people will probably try it anyways just to see how it is, but probably this guy's not going to see a lot of play in either format or successful play. But I could be wrong.
I think the other Venom is going to see more play, the one we haven't gotten to yet. So I don't think this is good enough for any format.
Moving on, we got Prairie Meadow. It's 1 diamond threshold, 4 charges. Target troop gets, the next time this would deal damage to this game, prevent it. So basically, you could prevent damage from one of your opponent's troops, which could make a big deal. Could be a big deal. Probably more in constructed than limited. Um, but yeah, I mean, especially if your opponent forgets for some reason. So yeah, it's all right.
It's okay. They printed a 1-cost action that has the same effect that's called Star Shield.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want this effect, you could probably just play the 1-cost action instead.
You might be able to play.
I believe the action is quick action. So.
You might be able to play some sort of like life gain deck, and then this would work into it maybe or something. Like, do you know what the format's going to be now? If we have a block 1, block 2, like for constructed, it's both blocks. Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, until they rotate out cards to like, and they make a new format. I think.
Right, and we have no idea what the rotation is going to be right now.
We're going to have at least 3 blocks probably before we think about any cards being rotated out.
Yeah. Next one, Roshi Manabu. It's cost 6 charges and 1 wild threshold. Gain 1 health for each troop in your graveyard. It's okay. Not really. I mean, I guess we have seen this before with wild, but I mean, I have to have a lot of troops in my graveyard. I guess it's supposed to be played with a lot of Shin'Hare type of things. I don't know. I felt like the ramp champion was better than this, where you just gain health, like gain 5 health for 4 charges. That seems better than this. The elf from the last set. So I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of this one.
I think it's awful.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems pretty bad. Moving on, we got Sagebrush. We already saw this guy. We're not going to touch on him again. Savas. 1 ruby threshold and 5 charges. Create a Scorch and put it into your hand. Scorch is actually not going to be the name of the card. Actually, someone posted this, but what it is it's a 0-cost card that does 1 point of damage. I mean, I guess in limited, pretty good, because maybe there's some X1s you could kill with it. So anything that kills troops that's a champion seems pretty good as a possibility. But your opponent should see it coming because they'll know it's in your hand. But it is 0 cost on top of that, so you don't have to worry about spending resources on other things. 5 seems a bit, I guess 5 is probably a lot, but at the same time you're getting possible removal or damage that could push you over the top. So what do you think?
I mean, it's definitely more expensive than the set 1 counterpart like Zerid Venom Scorn, which was permanent -1/-1, which is essentially dealing 1 damage.
Right, but better because it stays.
Yeah, it's cheaper. It was permanent, and it shrunk their attack as well. This is only good for killing someone or killing a troop or finishing them off. At least for limited. In constructed, there might be more chances for it to be good. Like,
I mean, the spell is in your
block.
graveyard. You could duplicate the spell maybe, or do something else with it. I mean, there's more things you might be able to do with it, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
I honestly think the other Ruby champion will see more play than this one, unless the format has
so before I even read this
ridiculous amount of X1s.
Before I even read this next card, I just have to say I really like the picture on it. I think that's pretty nice picture. That would be a nice cosplay if someone were to do that this year. Anyways, we got Sister Anastasia. It's a champion with double diamond threshold 5. Gain 1 health for each troop you control. Reasonably good, maybe, but like maybe for again limited. But I'm not seeing a lot of use for it in constructed. It just seems like something to, I'm not a huge fan of like life gain that doesn't do a whole lot. Especially, I guess it's okay if again you're doing some sort of deck where you need to hold on to board states, so you can play those really big troops. So maybe a wild diamond deck or a diamond sapphire deck that you're trying to like do a lot more counter magic and stuff and hold on to board state. Maybe. I mean, armies. Comments.
It's life gain. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the set 1 life gain champions. So I don't think you'll see any constructed play.
Yeah.
Limited, maybe, but I've yet to see reason.
It seems like most of these champions are really getting dialed back, if anything.
Some of these champions are going to be really good, but yeah, a lot of them are, to me, like Bunjitsu status. Just I don't want to play them.
Yeah. Here we go. Next one is Erg Knock. 2 ruby threshold, 2 charges. Target troop gets +1 attack. I think this is probably one of the better ones we've seen. You know, buffing a troop is pretty good permanently, although we've seen better buffs in the game. But for 2, I mean, this is going to happen a lot. So that's pretty awesome, especially there's a lot of Swift Strike in Ruby. You could pair this with Diamond to get even more Swift Strike. You could, like, throw some Diamond on things, and then you get some Swift Strike that way. I think this guy's great. I'd love to play with this guy.
Yeah, this card's fine. We've seen some of the commons from Ruby that are early drops that this would be good with. There's the 0/1 Rage 1 that whenever it attacks, you can give a target troop plus attack equals its attack. There's the necrotic one that has shift that can make a troop unblockable by troops with power less than its power. So increasing its power by 1 basically makes it much more harder to block. So I could see this being quite good in a Ruby aggro deck.
Next one, we've got Webweaver Thox, 1 diamond threshold, and target troop gets -1 front end, -1 power. This guy's alright. I mean, again, could help you in limited, maybe. But, I mean, at least it only costs 3, so maybe you can get it off more often and invalidate a troop that's out there. It's alright. I give it, like, you know, that 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 10 or whatever. Armies.
I mean, we haven't seen all the removal in the set. If there's a lot of conditional removal like Meek from set 2, where you need to shrink a creature's power, this might be better than you give it credit for. But until we see all of the cards in the set, it's really hard to say whether this is going to be better than the Oracle Song Champion or the next champion that you're about to reveal.
Yeah. Next one we've got is Winter Moon. 1 sapphire and 1 wild threshold, costs only 2 charges. Put up to 2 target cards in your graveyard into your deck. Those cards get, when you play this card, draw a card. I'd play with this card. I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's somewhat conditional. You actually have to draw those cards again, but you can do this very often. Cycle things back into your deck, get better draws. I'd love to play with this card, especially in limited, where you only have 40 cards in a deck. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think this card is going to see quite a bit of play. The other Wild and Sapphire champions are not super appealing to me, whereas this, the longer the game goes, the better it is for you compared to your opponent, because you're putting all your gas back into your deck. So while they're flooding out, drawing lots of shards, you're just drawing these troops that let you draw additional cards. So you just,
yeah.
The longer the game goes, the better this champion becomes.
Next one we've got is Zorzim of Koru. 1 blood, 1 sapphire. It seems like a lot of the dual shards is really where they wanted to put the power here. But 3 charges, create 3 spiderling eggs for each opposing champion and put them into their deck. And I believe the spiderling eggs are random. So they have it so they'll either randomly produce a 1/1 or a 5/5. I think they took out the cheesy, like, where the 5/5 kills something.
No,
they took out that.
Spiderling eggs are 1/1 unblockable creatures, period.
Oh,
the
okay.
other eggs from Fentio are called brood. God, I'm trying to think. They're a different kind of egg.
Right, so they're the ones that are the 1/1s or the 5/5s.
Yeah, that's the only card we've seen so far that makes those good eggs. All the other
good eggs. They're all bad eggs. All the rest of them are bad eggs.
Which are still good, but they're just not kill a troop and have a 5/5 good.
Yeah, I'd play this guy in limited for sure. Yeah, I'd play him. I mean, it seems
I'd play
pretty
him
good.
in constructed too.
Sure.
If I'm playing the Venom Egg deck.
Sure. And there's the picture. So we're through all the champions right now. We have a request to take a look at this card, apparently.
My favorite art, by the way, out of all the champions. It's just cool to see the Venom quad wielding these super cool looking daggers.
He brought up a card. Apparently he wants me to look at... Oh, is this the deck he wants me to look at? Bunny Banner deck, version 2. Oh, okay. He wants me to do this bunny deck. Okay, well maybe we'll do that today. We'll do that for our deck doctor. Okay. We had some cards. We'll push these cards to next week, but here's Devouring Doom Sports. 8 costs, 3 blood threshold, 6/6 basic, 3 blood. While this is in your hand, sacrifice 3 troops. Play this for free. Seems pretty awesome. And then it says rage 1 for each troop in your graveyard. Seems pretty awesome. Like, pretty awesome bomb, especially at legendary status. Shroomkin. This is like the first one good Shroomkin that I've seen. Let's see.
Shroom was totally reasonable.
Titania's Majesty is a looks like a socketable major. This is one of the first socketable majors I've seen. 5 cost, 1 wild threshold. It says troops you control you get +2/+2 and all socketed powers of this. Seems ridiculous. That seems ridiculous.
Yeah, this
basic
is
action speed.
This is the new
Buff my field and go nuts.
This is the new onslaught.
Yeah, for sure. Especially at cost of 5 and one threshold. Zakir's Whim, another socketable major. One ruby threshold, 5 cost. Target troop transforms into a random troop with all the socketed powers of this. So one of the interesting things I thought about this, and I'm not sure if it works this way. Well, no, it wouldn't work that way. Never mind. I was thinking, like, if you transformed your opponent's troop on the attack, it wouldn't be attacking, but that's not right. It would still be attacking because it's a transformation, not a place out of play and then place back into play. So that wouldn't work. So really, you'd probably only play this on your troops.
Bulk rare.
Yeah, I'd still play it maybe in limited. I'd still try it in limited. I guess I'd try a lot of things in limited. We really need to get to this deck doctor though, so let's go ahead and copy this and send it over. So let's see if I want to copy it. There's a button for that. Where is that button? Anyways, he's got Bucktooth Roshi, Onslaught, Oberon's Eulogy, Rune Ear Burrower, Rune Ear Command, Air Conflict, Solitary Exile, Oath. So he's playing an Oath deck, and Soul Marble's not a bad choice. He's only got 2 Bucktooth Commander in here for some reason. Runts the Litter's okay. Cottontail Recruiter. This one doesn't synergize well, unfortunately, with Oath of Valor. The problem, yeah, so those 2 are already something I would pull out in Ritualist. Okay, so let's make an Oath deck is what it looks like we're doing here. That looks like what we're doing here. And we've got Onslaught and some other stuff. But we can put some set 3 cards in here and maybe make it cooler with that new Onslaught card. So maybe we'll build around that. Maybe. And it'll have nothing to do. I call it 66 Devils, but I'll probably rename it later. So let's go to work, you know? We got like 17 minutes to build this deck.
Alright, well, if you're playing a Shin'Hare Swarm deck, we could become more efficient on our removal by cutting Inner Conflict for Inflict Doubt. That would be more efficient. But...
yeah, you could probably talk about that. So Inflict Doubt is a new set 3 card for 2 and 1 diamond threshold. It says play this only if you control more troops than your each champion. Target troop gets this, can't attack or block. So, and you can play it, and it's a basic action speed, so it plays a little bit faster. So we'll go ahead and throw 3 of those in there for now.
Yeah, the problem with Oath decks is you have to draw Oath, and your opponent has to not kill the troop that you try to Oath in response, or bounce it in response. So
see, I still think that's crazy because of the permanence of the way this game works. Because like typical cards like this, we've said this before, we'll say name a card, and this card shouldn't, like, if someone kills in response to this card, that shouldn't affect it, but it does.
Well, it doesn't say name a card, so
it says target a card. It says choose a troop you control, so you're actually targeting, but like you're still like, I don't know. I think like, because other things, if you target them and put them in the graveyard, like it still buffs them, you know, in this game, because the cards have memory. So I don't know. I think that this card should work that way, but it doesn't. So yeah, that you're right though. That is one of the big issues with Oath decks.
Same with Crown of Primus. They seem like great cards, but if your opponent has any answer at all, it just ruins your day.
Yeah. Moon'ariu Sensei is just like an auto pickup because it's just a nice filler for these. So let's talk about Cottontail Recruiter in relation to Oath of Valor. So big thing is, let's see, what champion did he have? He had Munika Shin. So he really wants to make battle hoppers. But the problem is if you Oath and target battle hoppers, and then you're making Shin'Hare militia. With this guy, you no longer have that. So it's basically like choose to play Oath or play Contail Recruiter. I ran into that when I was doing some testing a long time ago. Make a choice, you know, one or the other. Probably Contail Recruiter might actually be better, you know, just because you could stay wild. You wouldn't have to like splash into any other shards, but could be wrong about that. Let's see. I think Fuzzuko is actually better in these decks, a lot better. Also, he's just so ridiculous, especially like if you're gonna do something like what's it called, turn all your guys into any random troops +1 of their costs. What's that called? Let's see. Transform. Parallel Evolution. If you play Parallel Evolution in this deck, which is another one you really have to set up for and hope you didn't get swept out on, or hope you don't get swept out on the turn after you play it. But if you play Parallel Evolution in this deck, like, that's another one I still feel like is better with that guy. If you do have the Master Moss, I would play him in here if you've got him. Even though he's not a Shin'Hare, he's just too good not to play at 4 cost. I'd play at least 2. Also, like, you can buff him, and chances are, like, he'll die, and then, like, he'll still be buffed. His like, 2/2 will be a 3/3, which makes it a lot easier for you to get that 5/5 back, or, of course, it would be a 6/6 at that point in time. Let's see here. That's the deck. What else could we put in here? It's always fun building these things live, isn't it? Battle hoppers. We need to put the battle hopper cards in here for sure. Succulent Clickadon. No, not really. Probably not. Type of thing. Concubunny is another one you probably play like one of in here. Like, just because it just keeps making you more dudes. And, you know, when you play one Oath, Concubunny makes an army of dudes that are 2/3s. Let's see. Runts of the Litter is preferable probably over the other one, actually. Over
Surprise Runt Gang.
Surprise Runt Gang's like a 2 of, I think, if you're going to play it in this deck. Like, I've played that one too, and it feels like sometimes, like, if there's another issue with this deck where it's like all I have are 0/0s and nothing to buff them with.
Yeah, I always hate
0/1s.
play the bunny decks. Like, where are my Evolves Bucktooth Commanders or Bucktooth Roshis? I need them now.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe 2 Roshis. The biggest issue with this guy is he's just so slow, and by the time he hits the table, like, that's when what's his name is hitting the table, the dwarf. Reese the Crust Crawler, and this guy, and Reese is ridiculously better than Bucktooth Roshi.
I like Roshi, but I like him in the Blood Wild Bunny aggro deck, no Oath, where you just play like Keeper of the Wounded Petal and Ambusher and things like that. Because if you have this in play and you have some of your buddies die, Ambusher comes out as like a 9/8, kills their best troop with speed and just slams them in the face.
You could even play Root Father in this deck, honestly. Let's see, what else are we doing in here? I mean, you could play Angel of Dawn in this deck if you've got it. If you've got it, I mean, it's like, why not in this type of deck? Oh, so here's one that I do actually like in this deck pretty well, and this is not a what's it called? Forgotten Monarch. So here's what you do. You give him Swift Strike, and then the one where, like, when he does damage to your opponent, your field gets +1/+1. And the cool thing is he'll deal damage first if he actually gets damage through, and buff your field, and then your field deals damage. It's pretty awesome. So that's another one you could try, especially like PvE. You'll have a better chance of having it happen. He's only one diamond threshold. I mean, he basically costs 3 in this deck. I think he's pretty awesome. Still, like, this is another card that I wish saw more play. He's pretty cheap as well, so you could pick him up pretty easily. But it's another card that could buff your field pretty easily, pretty well. So he was playing Oberon's Eulogy. I guess I could throw these in here. Like, I have heard Golden Saucer Guy has said that this is pretty good for this deck. Titania's Majesty might be better, though. is probably like the better card. So what would you gem in Titania's Majesty? You think you do them like all different or all the same?
Probably all the same.
What would you do?
I think it's way better than Wild Sapphire, but if you're gonna play Wild Diamond,
you give them all Swift Strike. You could give them all
yeah,
+1/+1, so it would be +3/+3.
Yeah, I was thinking probably you just go Life Drain, but
you know what I'd do? I'd do Rhinos.
You could do Rhinos.
I'd be crazy because like you're swinging them with like your whole field now could produce Rhinos, yeah. And then on top of that, I mean that seems pretty ridiculous. That actually, like, yeah, I would play like 3 of these and maybe try to ramp up into them over Oberon's Eulogy in this type of deck. And then that means the thing is though, now I wish there was a Shin'Hare that ramped, because that's what I would play in this deck. Like
I miss the original Ritualist of the Spring Litter. That card was fun.
What did it do? Do you remember?
It was I think it was a 3-cost 0/1 that at the start of your turn you would gain 1 temporary resource for every Shin'Hare you control.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, there's definitely some comboing there.
It was a card. Then they changed it to make more bunnies instead, and they made it. It's still a good card now, but the other card was pretty good. And just gained ridiculous amounts of resources.
So every time I played one of these token decks, I played I played a playset of Crash Beast. I just felt like it just felt like it was a great card to have in the deck. I mean, because you basically have a 3/3 Rhino that could become a 4/4 Rhino with Crush with your champion power. It just seemed like this just makes sense, you know. It's actually much better than Surprise Runt Gang because you actually get legitimate bodies.
Yeah, the card was pretty good. There were a lot of cards that got changed, like Zentos Inquisitor was a 3-drop instead of a 4-drop.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cards.
Yeah, that needed to happen badly.
Back in Alpha, they got changed. Protector Defender was a 2/4 for 4 with a different ability that lets you one-shot bounce it to your hand. Hive Creation played everything from your deck instead of just troops.
Yeah, well, no, it didn't play. It played troops and it played shards, so it didn't play basic actions, constants, or quick actions.
It played everything.
It played everything you needed to play.
It played eyes off of your eyes.
Yeah, it played eyes off of eyes. That was that's the other sick thing about it. Would you play Chlorophylla in here? Would I play Chlorophylla in here?
I don't think you would.
Yeah, you want Rhinos. You want to have those Rhinos for sure. Constantina's another one you could run in this deck. So now we're kind of like going away from the whole like theme of the Shin'Hare thing, but like that's another one. If you've got it, you can play Constantina in here, and she'll do well for you. If you don't have her and you really kind of want to more go towards the aggro route and maybe less bunnies and that like 0/1 bunnies, Feral Ogre is pretty good. The thing is, like, we're trying to produce a lot of tokeny bunny type of deck type of thing. I guess Oath also works on the Rhinos, so that gives you another target for all those Rhinos too. So, you know, that's always good to have. Like, if someone for some reason removed all of the bunnies from your deck, or you just didn't draw them, you have that as a secondary condition for what you're trying to target. Let's see. We've got the diamond shards. Let's go ahead and start throwing shards in here, getting things ready. Do we have a dual shard yet that's out of the new set? I don't think we do.
Not for that.
Not for diamond. Not for diamond and.
We've only seen the ruby wild one so far that I know of.
Yeah, you definitely are playing 4 shards of life. So you really need charges in this deck. So that's another thing you could run in here is you could run your Crackling Sprout. Yeah, you could run that also in here. Maybe it's a 2 of. That's why I liked playing this deck with Ruby, because you get Crackling Bolt, which has a lot more utility. Let's see, we got our shards, so at least partially started shards. We've got about 6 minutes to finish up this deck in order for us not to go over time here. So hopefully we can make it. Okay, so that's 23 shards. We are over budgeted 14 cards right now, so we need to figure out what is going to stay, what's going to go. Our curve looks not too great, not too bad, I guess. So I can already take the Bucktooth Roshi down by 1, I think. The Forgotten Monarch is nice, but he actually has to deal damage for it to work, and so we're going to take him down to 2 for now.
Yeah, he's good with Crackling Sprouts. If you're playing like the less bunny-oriented deck, you could definitely play
we don't
the
have
Diamond
any
Wild Crush deck. But
we don't have any ramp, so we're actually going to take Titania's Majesty down to 2, although we take it down to 1. The Solitary Exile I feel is too good for us to get rid of, although sometimes this can be just hard to play with the double threshold when you really need it. But 2 of these should be fine, I think. And then we can take Inflict Doubt maybe down to 2 of, and then throw maybe some on the reserves if you feel like you need more. Soul Marble can stay at 2 pretty well. Root Dancer is like an iffy one. If you've got him, you could play him if you don't have some of these other buffs, but we could probably pull him because we aren't going to play a ton of shards.
I think Root Dancer's better if you're trying to make like
more shards or spell shield, yeah, that sort of thing. Constantina can stay for now. Concubunny, there's one of, should be okay. Runts the litter is okay. So the big thing is like we're trying to get a good amount of stuff to target with Oath of Valor, and like we've got our Surprise Runt Gang, we've got our Crash Beast. Maybe we'll take Oath down by a little bit because like if we don't have good targets for it, it's not as good. And we stopped using Manika Shin. We're actually using Fuzzuko. The nice thing with Fuzzuko and playing all these tokens is we have a guaranteed buff already in our hand before we start the game, as long as we draw enough shards or charges rather. So that's the best thing about playing Fuzzuko in this deck. You know, if I don't draw my oaths, that sort of thing. Let's see, Soul Marble. Soul Marble is probably strictly better than Oath. It's just slow. That's the only issue with it that I really have here. Contel Ronin, do we really want those? Maybe that doesn't really do.
I think it's not that good in the current.
Yeah, this is a really decent card, especially like for your limited decks and that sort of thing, but I feel like this guy kind of wants you to play him with Ruby and maybe give him Swift Strike or something somehow. But he's not bad, especially like you could have him on the reserves and side him in against.
Yeah, I think he's much better when you're on the play. Like you could reserve him in when you're on the play.
So we're at 62 now. We need to make some more choices. So I'm thinking, yeah, Titania's Majesty in this specific deck, but if there was an elf deck, this is going to be much better because you'll be able to ramp up into it, maybe play more elves, and maybe throw some more tokens around. You'll probably still be playing Crash a Beast in there, and that would be funny to have Crash a Beast make beasts that Titania's Majesty allows to make more beasts, but yeah, that should be pretty neat. Let's see, what can we get rid of here? What's our curve look like? Not too bad. Maybe the 2-point range is what we need to look at here. I mean, like our 1 point, our turn 1 is pretty abysmal too. I'm not sure if there's a better turn 1 card that we can come up with, but we got Runts the Litter as our turn 1.
I mean, the only other option is you could play the Blossoming Concubunny or the.
Oh, Blossoming Concubunny would be all right. Yeah, was trying to play more of that stuff.
Keeper of the Wounded Petal, but I mean, I don't really like it that much in the Wild Diamond. I like it much better in the Blood or the Sapphire Wild.
So I know this was an Oath deck, but like Oath is just, it's just such a situational card. I mean, it's about, yeah. It's sad to say this, but Oath is actually probably better than my All in the Family right now in the format, because this actually is going to happen, and at least you could give one troop +2/+2, whereas All in the Family, my what is it called card, it may not, my vanity card may not ever do anything. So if somebody does get that to happen, take a screenshot and post it to me on Twitter. Like when set 3 comes out, I would love to see All in the Family actually active on somebody's screen. Honestly,
I'll get right on that.
You get right on it.
Dungeon.
This is actually not such a bad deck right now. It's $17 is what we're coming out at, and it should do some okay things. At least in PvE, it might be okay. it definitely needs a lot of refinement. We may revisit this one next week because we are running out of time this week. But I do appreciate everyone for stopping by. So that's we're gonna call that the deck for the week. It's okay. I guess 66 Devils. I guess if they were is an okay name for this deck. If they were all Shin'Hare Devils or maybe Rhino Devils. You know, I guess the Rhinos do have horns. But yeah, so really appreciate everyone for stopping out. So we'll probably close out the episode here. I think that would be a good place to go. Any last thoughts on the deck though before we close it out, Armies, or things we should have done? You still there? You're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just thinking if there's anything that I would change, like maybe a one of Evolve or something, but
Evolve is also one that a lot of people will play in here. I just hate playing it personally, but I wouldn't fault anyone for playing it. Because, you know, like at least with Fuzzuko, like I can control it more, I guess. But sometimes when it's just sitting in your hands, or like I need to play this card before it gets sniped out with someone that's going to discard it, or I need to play it at this point in time, you know, and then someone sweeps you out. I guess that's going to feel bad no matter what, though, even with the champion ability.
I mean, that's the main thing with Shin'Hare is that when you get Extinction, you are pretty much done. Game over.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Unless you're playing Monsoon.
That's one of the reasons, like, if you have, like, Wrathwood Master Moss, you play him in here. Because, like, he does give you a little bit more things, a little bit more options you can do with a deck like this. I don't even know if there's a set 3 champion that I saw that would really fit this deck well that I can think of after the ones we went through, although I didn't exactly memorize all of them by just reading them. I just barely read them.
I don't think there's any that are better than Fuzzuko for this kind of deck.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right, well, let's close out the episode, shall we? Yes. So tonight on Deck Build the Squire, episode 66, we're calling it Mordor 66 Devils. We built this Shin'Hare deck, which had something to do with devils, kind of, but not really. Yeah, not really at all. And we talked about some of the Hex news. We went over all of the champions, all of them. So go ahead and rewind and check out all the new champions. It's pretty exciting. We got the set 3 stuff. They'll probably have it at Gen Con this year, so I do look forward to playing with the new cards. We also talked about the webcomic for the 2-year anniversary of Hex, which is pretty exciting. I had a couple of people win. Make sure you stick around after the show because we do a draft giveaway at the end of the show, and that's pretty much it for tonight. I really appreciate everyone for coming out. Make sure you're supporting all the Hex streamers. If you haven't checked out Armiesofmordor and you aren't subscribed to him, shame on you. Go over there and check him out. I believe you're twitch.tv/Armiesofmordor, right?
That is correct, but I haven't been streaming a lot. I just feel that I am just too absorbed in watching all the other people stream that are so good at it that I just don't feel like doing it myself all that often. But I'm more than willing to join anyone on any show. That's how I got recruited into the other show.
Right. And which you should go ahead and plug that right now as we're closing out the episode. How to find it and all that stuff, you know?
It will be on Hexed Havoc's YouTube channel. So if you're not following that, I'm sure we can get a link to that in the comments. It's posted. I think he wants to do it like once a month or something, because he puts a lot of work into it to make it look really nice. So there is a contest for the first episode as well.
Ooh!
Alternate art Buccaneer sleeves by posting a comment of what card you want.
I really want those sleeves. I'm gonna have to post.
Go over for our next episode.
Got plenty of sleeves.
So pick something that's got a lot of synergy or combos that you want us to talk about, and you can win a Buccaneer sleeves.
Yeah, combo Oath of Valor. Don't do that one. All right, so that was pretty much it for the episode. Again, really appreciate everyone for coming out again. Until next time, this is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families. Trying not to rage too much out there. Armiesofmordor saying his famous
signing off.
All right.
Bye.